After many months of deliberation, the 2020 US Open is finally here, and the men's draw was recently released. Here, I'll go over the projected paths of all top 4 seeds, break down the entire draw, then give my prediction here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. Starting with world number 1 Novak Djokovic, the Serbian will open against Emir Žumur, and in the second round, possibly Kyle Edmund. His first projected seed he'll face is Jan-Lennard Struff, and next in the round of 16 is John Isner. In the quarters, he's projected to play David Goffin, and in the semis, either Tsitsipas or Zverev. Lastly, in the finals, it's either Medvedev or Thiem. Second seed Thiem will face Germain Munar, then likely Sumit Nagal in the second. The third round sees him squaring off against former champion Marin Cilic. After that, it's young Canadian Felix Auger-Aliassime, and in the quarters, it will be either Bautista Agut or Karen Khachanov. The final four has him playing either Berrettini or Medvedev, and in the finals, Djokovic or Tsitsipas. Last year's runner-up Daniil Medvedev starts his campaign against Federico Delbonis. Afterwards, he is projected to play 2 great clay quarters in Laslo Djere and Guido Pella. In the round of 16, he could play Gregor Dimitrov, then Matteo Berrettini in the quarters. The final four has him facing either Thiem or Agut, and in the finals, Djokovic or Tsitsipas. Speaking of Tsitsipas, the Greek will open against Alberto Ramos Vinolas, followed by Joseph Kovalik. His first projected seed is Borna Coric, then in the fourth round, Christian Garin. In the quarters, he'll play either Zverev or Schwartzman. In the semis, he'll likely face Djokovic, and in the finals, Medvedev or Thiem. First, looking at Novak's mini section, just before the quarters, I see a pretty standard draw. It's like Goldilocks, not that easy, but not that difficult. He could have a battle on his hands in the second round against either Bublik or Edmund, as both men are incredibly solid, as Bublik's sort of crafty game could frustrate the Serbian. In the third round, I believe we'll see a Cincinnati rematch between Jan-Lennard Struff. Djokovic demolished Struff here, but I feel that this time around things will be a lot different. I still pick Novak to beat Struff, but don't be surprised if the German takes a set or even 2 off of him. In the round of 16, I believe Djokovic will face Isner or Carreño Busta. The former has a relatively easy path to that round, while Isner's path isn't as simple. John first plays Stevie Johnson, who he's never beaten. In the second round, he'll likely face Ricardas Berankis, who played very well at the Western and Southern Open. Isner himself, though, had a good run there, and I think he'll continue that momentum here and will reach the fourth round. I believe Novak will send him packing though and reach the quarters. The other side of this quarter is quite frankly a lot more interesting, and is led by David Goffin and Denis Shapovalov. El Chapo opens against American Sebastian Korda and could face another one in Tai-Son Kwiatkowski in the second. He's projected to face yet another American in Taylor Fritz in the third. Fritz himself faced a couple of tricky matches against last year's surprise breakout player Dominic Thiem, followed by veteran Frenchman Gaël Simon. I believe Shapovalov and Fritz, while both having tricky roads to the third round, will advance to face one another, where I'm picking Shapovalov to come through. The next mini section is also very intriguing, as it features Cincinnati quarterfinalist Filip Krajinovic and 7th seed David Goffin. Krajinovic was very impressive in Cincinnati, crushing Team 1 and 2, then being within 1 point of defeating finalist Milos Raonic in the quarters. It's very common that such player will have a letdown after a high-level showing like this, but I'm going to put my faith in him and have him reach at least the third round. There, I pick him to face Riley Opelka, who has a very difficult first round match against Goffin. They've played twice in the past, each guy taking 1 match. If history is an indicator, this is sure to be a battle, as all their matches were pushed to a decider. I pick Opelka to beat Goffin because his form in Cincy was very promising, and he could have even gone all the way if a right knee problem didn't force him out of the tournament. This problem could shape the outcome, but I ultimately think his withdrawal was out of precaution for the Open, and he should be fine for at least the first few rounds. I'm concerned about how the issue will hold up after the few rounds, which is why I picked Krajinovic to advance and face Shapovalov in the round of 16. Shapovalov would meet Novak in the quarterfinals, and I feel he does have the game to beat him. However, I still don't think he's ready for that step in his career, thus I picked Novak to advance to the semis. Stefanos Tsitsipas has a pretty favorable quarter, as many of his earlier projected opponents are clay court specialists. Borna Coric could pose some difficulty for Steph in the third round, but after that, he'll probably have an easier opponent in the round of 16 because no players from that little mini section strikes me as a threat. Zverev's section is next, and at the top we have Diego Schwartzman facing Cam Norrie. The 9th seed has a decent draw, and I feel his first true test will come in the third round against Hubert Hurkacz. Should he defeat Hubie, Diego is projected to play Alexander Zverev, who on paper has a difficult opening round match against Kevin Anderson. I think that this match holds a lot of weight for Alex and his chances at this event because if he does advance, he'll get a lot of confidence and will improve throughout the tournament. In his Cincy match against Tsitsipas, Anderson was kind of off in the beginning, but got better and better towards the end, so Zverev needs to be fully alert. I don't see any other players early on that could truly upset Zverev, because while Brandon Nakashima is very talented, I don't think he's at that level yet. Despite falling against Andy Murray in the opening round at Cincinnati, Zverev's form was promising with the exception of his serving woes. If he can get this under control, I believe he'll get by both Schwartzman and Tsitsipas to reach the semifinals. I'm going out on a limb and say that this will indeed happen, as I believe he has the solid coaching in Ferrer and all the preparation from training throughout the pandemic. The third quarter is the 3rd seed Medvedev's, and last year's semifinalist Matteo Berrettini is at the top of the draw. Once again, there isn't anything too out there in this mini section, but Humbert in the second round, then Benedict or Ruusuvuori in the third round might be tough. By the way, although neither are high ranked, both Benedict and Ruusuvuori were very impressive in Cincinnati and will definitely be a match to watch. I still pick Berrettini to come through to the fourth round nonetheless, where he'll meet Andrei Rublev. Rublev has a favorable mini section himself, and I don't really see anyone that can truly threaten him until the round of 16. Should Berrettini and Rublev meet, it'll be a rematch of last year's match where they played in the same round. I think Rublev will reach the quarterfinals because even though Matteo beat him in straight sets last year, Andre started to crack the code just before the end, plus he'll have a chip on his shoulder from that loss. At the other side of this quarter is Gregor Dimitrov at the top, facing a tricky first round against American Tommy Paul. Gregor potentially has another dangerous opponent in the second round against Martin Fucsovics, who actually beat him in Cincinnati. Slightly below is Francis Tiafoe, who is set to play against always dangerous Italian Andrea Seppi. The winner of this one will play either John Millman or Nicolas Basilashvili. I picked Millman to advance because I was really impressed by his form in Cincinnati. He's actually my pick to reach the round of 16 here. I think he will play Medvedev, as the Russian doesn't really have anyone that could challenge him here, because much of his opponents are better on clay courts. His first seed he's projected to play is Guido Pella, who is okay on hard court, but the US Open's mistake in preventing him from playing Cincinnati may put him a step behind. For this third quarter, I picked Medvedev and Rublev to play each other, with Daniil advancing. Medvedev owns Rublev in their head-to-head, not dropping a single set to his compatriot in their 3 matches. This matchup just works great to his advantage, and I don't see much changing at the US Open. In our last quarter is Roberto Bautista Agut, who has a tricky opening round match against Tennys Sandgren. In the third round, he'll likely play Cincinnati finalist Milos Raonic. Although Agut played really well in Cincy himself, coming within a few points of beating Novak, his 0-5 record against Milos is very telling, and should they play this fortnight, I'm picking the Canadian to go 6-0 against him. 11th seed Karen Khachanov would be Milos' projected opponent in the fourth round, but the Russian doesn't quite have the easiest route there. After getting by talented youngster Jannik Sinner, Karen may play big serving Sam Querrey in the second. Gasquet, I believe, will reach the third round to play Karen, but I'm going to have the Russian advance to eventually face Raonic. Should this matchup happen, I'm going with Milos. In the other quarter is 15th seed Felix Auger-Aliassime, who could have a blockbuster second round match on his hands against Andy Murray. I think this match has the potential to be an epic, and it's really hard for me to pick a winner for that one. I felt that Felix had a big opportunity to do something big at Cincinnati, but his nerves prevented him from closing against Tennys Sandgren. These nerves were evident in all 5 of his ATP finals thus far, as he's been unable to grab a single set in any of them. Here is a big chance to beat one of the game's greats in Andy Murray. I'm choosing Murray to advance based off of the possibility of Felix being nervous. In the third round, Murray would have another tough one on his hands and compatriot Dan Evans. Evans has been playing really well the past few seasons, especially last week in Cincinnati. I just have a strong urge that Murray will have a good run at the US Open, and for that reason I'm choosing him to reach the fourth round. Finally, looking at team's mini section, after getting by Munar, the Austrian will probably play Sumit Nagal. Although surprising, I believe Nagal could cause problems for Dominic, especially if Thiem plays like how he did in Cincinnati. In the third round, Dominic is set to face 2014 US Open champion Marin Cilic. Although Cilic hasn't been playing up to his slam winning standards, he tends to rise to the occasion in slams, and for sure has the firepower to take out Thiem. However, I picked Dominic to play Andy Murray in the fourth. I feel that Thiem can do either one of two things. First, play poorly like he did last week, or turn his entire game around like he did in Melbourne. I think he'll do the latter to a degree, which is why I see him beating Murray but losing to Raonic in the quarters. For my overall prediction, I see Djokovic and Medvedev advancing to the finals, with Daniil winning the title. To me, Daniil has the ideal preparation for this tournament, as he didn't play too much nor too little. He actually had the game to beat Agut and Cincy, and should've, but couldn't close it out. Like Agut, Medvedev has the game style to truly wear down and beat Djokovic. Plus, while Novak won Cincinnati, he wasn't playing at his best. This of course means Djokovic has room for improvement, but I'm unsure of how his body will hold up by the end of the 2 weeks. The neck, the stomach, and the legs are all concerns for Djokovic, and I think the fresher of the two, Medvedev, will outlast a potentially tired Novak. Though I might have not chosen them to go as far as Novak or Daniil, here are some players that I believe can shake things up. Lastly, here are some of my top first round popcorn matches. That's all for my men's preview for the US Open, and let me know your thoughts and whether you agree or disagree with my picks in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever we post our women's preview. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.